Welcome to Deep Thought. Spirituality and sexuality are two sides of the same coin. This is a very important thing, and a lot of people don't get this. Because what is spirituality? As I talked about in the last one, it's not necessarily a particular path. Indeed, if you talk about what are called spiritual paths or religions, those are doctrines. They got specific rules, specific things you're supposed to do to eat, even how you wear your clothes. Those are doctrines. That really, in many cases, has very little to do with spirituality. Spirituality is your spirit. It's the intangible part of your being. Or even if you I don't get into all that spiritual and religious stuff. Okay, it's your subconscious. Like if you ask somebody, okay, where's your subconscious in you? And somebody say, well, of course, it's in your brain. Well, wait, according to many scientists, we have several brains within us. So which brain is it in? And then can you really look at this and say this is your your subconscious? No, it's spirit. It's intangible. It's the software. It's like electricity. You can't see it, but it's there. It's like the Wi-Fi waves that's all around us. Like all around us. We can't see them, but it's there. So that's spirituality. But then that's just one side, because when we're talking about spirituality, we tend to separate from sexuality. But you know what? Sexuality is also mental. It's also mental. Yeah, you got your parts and everything. But what's the intangible part? Even the sexual expression. Think about it. Okay, yeah, you can be a male, but what if in your spirit, in your sexual expression, it's more female? That's a big thing behind people who are trans and want to change their gender. They just don't feel like the physical gender that they are. That's a great indication. Hey, even your sexual nature is intangible. And even, I'm going to tell y'all something now. There's actually two sexual orientations that have nothing to do with your actual gender. Two sexual orientations. I ain't talking about straight or gay or in between or non-binary. And these some terms I haven't used in a long time. And I picked up the terms from Master Yao and Yamache Morris. And I've mentioned him several times. It's one of the greatest things he's ever introduced. But there's two sexual orientations. And I've only seen one other place talking about it. I can't even find it. But there's some people who express their sexuality in a more reserved manner. It's more based more on the emotional connection. But not based on pure lust. Even has some elements of fear in it. Like somebody might be afraid, if somebody has an underlying fear of expressing themselves on a physical level sexually, they'll become this. And the term was reverent intelligentsia. They're more in their heads and stuff. But at the same time, it's not a physical thing. You can't measure it. Both men, women, non-binary have one of them. Well, we have both, but you get people who are men, you get men, you get women, you get non-binary, who express a more intelligence in nature. They're more in their heads. They're the type, like a woman who could have a Coke bottle figure if she's naked, but you couldn't tell if you see her. She wears very loose clothing. She doesn't wear her hair in a way that draws attention or a makeup. She's not going to wear those 6-inch heels. And, the man, he's not going to wear that shirt that shows off his muscular build, that clings to his muscles, show his shoulders. He's going to wear loose clothing. He's not going to wear, he ain't going to wear any pants that could possibly show his print. So those are reverent intelligences. But see, all of that still comes down to the mental, the intangible. And then you have the other side of the coin, the sensual bohemians. their sexual expression is not only more physical, and they focus more on the physical, but also they don't have any real breaks on their sexuality. They go for pleasure, even if it's short term. And they can have some issues, even though that short term pleasure can cause them long term pain. But it's still, whether they're a man, whether they're a woman, whether they're non-binary, it's still intangible. Now, think about it. If spirituality is intangible, sexuality is really intangible. So they are really two sides of the same coin. In fact, here's an interesting thing. And it's a powerful thing. I'm going to get a little bit more into this in the next podcast. Someone with a high sexual nature, in many cases, got a high spiritual nature. Because they two sides. They both the same energy. They both in the same range of energy, both intangible. You can't see it, but you can see the outward expression of it, maybe in how a person behaves, even in how they dress. But they two sides, and they such a connection with each other, especially in, you get some more esoteric, spiritual, religious or spiritual paths, however you want to say it, that they will use sexual energy for spiritual purposes, to connect with greater spirit. That's a whole thing with Tantra. Tantra is about the intermixing of spirituality and sexuality. That's how much they are. They're just two sides of the same coin. That's why a lot of times, if you really are around a very sexual person, in many ways they have behaviors. It might not be as obvious, but that you could say are more spiritual, even close to a religious sense of spiritual, and how they interact with people and everything. In fact, you'll find that with people with a high sexual nature, they interact with people on a better nature, on a better basis. That's how deep it is. And I'm just hitting the surface right now. I'm hitting the surface. But anybody who's practiced some of the more esoteric traditions, Tantra, sacred sexuality, the Kama Sutra, and even some of the stuff that people would call magic, and MAGICK, magic. They would say, you know what, there's a strong sexual component to get to a spiritual end. That's how deep it is. But the thing is, they're two sides of the same coin. And I could go deeper, but I would have to really sit down and have a really thorough presentation. But you know how I do on this channel. I throw stuff out and see what does it do to a person. Like, some people will hear this and say, wow. Then some people might get actually triggered in a negative way. But some people might get triggered in a positive way, say, wait a minute, I've been seeing something like that all along. So I want you to just think about it like that. However you see it, just think, hey, ask yourself, just think about it. Just think about it. That's all I ask on this channel. Anyway, that's all I have. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace and blessings.